starting June 2023, we will try to work our model. We present the accountability to the International Criminal Court, considering the interest as independent, observe the independent oversight mechanism and the prosecution at this court as a court of justice, criminal justice, applying ethical consequence. It's not a judicial power because represent no nation, but has legitimacy to apply consequence against all nations that signed the agreement as the home agreement, and the consequence against the state implies the institutions on it, and the regression will go for sure as a need, because you can do the punishment of an entire area by the guiltiness of some crookheads that kind of in general are hidden themselves inside the institution. We had the industrial project named New Tracer by Quadrant under interference illegal of Brazil criminal system integrated by criminal purpose with players all around the globe, especially noticed at the budget, and then you check one more thing, the regression you can get on public departments, for instance, the monthly salary pay, or the budget, there's annual budget that has the distortions compiled year by year. This new thing that we will have is when you do something wrong and it's profitable by your sites, you keep this doing. But if you have limited resources in the way you have as a premise of economy, of course that you must take this from other areas, and sometimes the areas you took has legitimacy to claim, especially if based on corruption, that is the kind of crime in all areas forbidden, like at the drug trafficking, that some areas has tolerance with drug use, especially by the policymakers that are on drug dependence. But you have a book written at least once, and you probably will find at the e-commerce. It's about the how you will disorganize the Western society by drug dependence. The anti-corruption will lead in a very specific moment, as this is anti-mafia and also anti-drugs, are the two front doors, prostitution and drugs. Combined, you have parties, and those crazy parties, that will put the youth in an experience that will in near future be transferred to the institution, and this corrosive behavior will have consequence at the self-determination as institution combined as your nation, and the relation between nations with corrosive notations occupying having filled chairs, and with drug dependence are problems as self-determination. Of course that the entire hemisphere will have problem, like the western hemisphere, or in the near future equally the eastern hemisphere, the entire global population vulnerable by dependence, threatened by consume of rotten things, all covered by fake records, and having diseases with lower substances nutrients. In general, you are having a genocide veiled by financial records and institutional decisions covered by fake record as part of, or maybe the angle-stone as institutional crime perpetrated by specific hands, which leads to hiring process, corruption on it as purpose, unveiling the nepotism as the extension of influence as range to do the variance of your activity, but all collinear at the root cause as corruption. You are traced by checks. It's for sure the idea of this industrial project that we set as self-defense, and by interference in Brazil you do not respect. And if this is supporting the accuracy needed at the International Criminal Court or any other area not linked with the organized crime, you are affecting this as interest to do the cognition of the circumstance to apply the procedural consequence according with the law and the Constitution. If you have the guarantee as application of the law, and it will be probably the better application of the law as possible, but if you do not have, you will suffer some ethical consequence, especially on areas that has the same knowledge and cognition about the circumstance presented like corruption. You will observe that the productive system will transfer money as salary paid, and people will consume things that will be under those entire thing, something named taxation. But if you have the extension of your activity reducing the possibility of people to buy things, indeed you will have more taxation with lower possibility as yield, but to consume and feedback the productive system, your taxation is having proved and showing the Laffer effect, which is the curve when no one will pay tax in a situation that is kind of the forfeiture or the seizure. You are misguiding the taxation as activity, which is the supply as in financial incomes of your public treasury to apply at the welfare state of your citizens all around the globe. You check that areas doing the abusive and extreme taxation has higher index of underdevelopment because they are unable to understand premise of economy, and a mental illness like this, carrying the obsession to perpetrate crimes as the control instrument, putting variables linked with the corruption and collinear and nepotism going all around. Of course that we will have soon the underdevelopment as a premise of existence as at mankind. Simple arguments at the philosophy as credit and interest at this paycheck are at the defaulted, at least looks like, but is for sure unpaid and unsatisfied because I'm poor alone. So you check that this kind of thing will put me in a second issue at this small talk and conversation considered the current summit Asia. If you are told that has a tax problem inside your environment and you can do the over taxation, you assume it that has corrosive elements inside your environment. And if your environment declares itself as zero tolerance with death penalty against corruption, you must apply the death penalty against the top chair that puts this declaration on your mouth in the international business TV. The second thing, you must finger who is the problem, because the problem exists. It's proved by science as economic, using the econometric model and new quadrant by chairs the quadrant gray area on Asia and having the chairs leading this, but the root cause of main all problems is at least one single chair, even if it's not an Asian chair. The other thing, the taxation you do is the treasury of your nation, according with the limits as possibility that people will pay, and they will do evasive movements from this point, which is kind of you took the entire property of the person. But you are not an idiot, for sure. You will check that the people must have some kind of financial and economic results with them to consume, or you will do the taxation at that limit, but your productive system will have problems. So you have problems on both, looks like, because your infrastructure sector is unable to do the payment of things. You are having current debt bonds on China or whatever, on Asia. And for instance, if I have 33 trillions, 37 trillions as budget, then my share has 33 billion, I decide to buy some debt things here and transfer, for instance, to Russia, charge you and claim the payment. Russia is owner of the entire things here. And they can do this, for instance, with the Africa too, if they would like to receive and buy this debt bond that I will buy from you. See, you have two problems. The first one, you do not respect economic premises and other things based on the fake records that goes all around, putting all illegal things as pandemic mobilization of crime collinear at the same stimulation. Doing the covariance, you all move together, you all got clustered together by solidarity. The second thing, the taxation with problem implies the bad administration of the public treasury and sector. And the decreasement as capacity to solve your problem at the market, is internal market, is evidencing that you are having misguided the distribution of money and wealth, and also the wealth cycle as payment. And then you can't have, or you are telling a lie. You can have, or you must open your market to understand which was the source of the appearance as wealthy and financial economic strength during those last 15 years maybe. Because if you got index high even during the period as closed doors at the period that the COVID, that people couldn't walk around, which is the source of this money here? Is it illegal storage of money? Because if it's illegal storage of money, you are part of a illicit workflow, like the banks on Europe that suffered consequence. Why you shouldn't suffer consequence on Asia and be at the market that is fighting this kind of thing? I think that now you are an outline. Are you alone? What do you think? Can you answer these three questions? Are you alone as outlined, considering the prevention as corruption, observing that we have the mobilization of pandemic crimes by areas that hold illicit storages? First question. Second question, is it real that you have tax problem, or you are having this argument to do not pay or suffer the financial consequence, having a second line at your premise as defense or self-defense that it's not illegal be a debitor, but I will remind you that it's illegal be a debitor to do not satisfy a credit by an evasive movement because you are doing white collar crime. The third question, are you having the proper distribution of wealth, considering the wealth cycle, the decreasement of capacity on internal markets to solve problems by the salary paid? In other words, reducing little by little the possibility as payment, as self-determination, as economic agent, compromising the welfare state and having this spread all around in other areas like observed on hikes. Do you consider yourself based on three questions: a negative leadership at the market? But in you as outline and negative leadership carrying this trend, do you consider that this trend is something likely? The internal environment corrupted until the use of state and institutional power for criminal purposes, like observed with data, fake currency, piracy, and other elements are undoubtedly, under the full as decision against those areas, not only on Asia. Have a nice weekend. I'm like droopy, almost happy, but still unsatisfied. I'm the credit, the owner of the credit and representing all interest on it, since recognized and confirmed. See?